Hi guys, my name is Jasmine and I'm doing my book talk on Ian's Walk. This book is by Lori Lears and is illustrated by Karen Ritz. I featured this book in my multicultural calendar for the month of April because it is Autism Awareness Month. As we know, autism is a developmental disability, and I thought it would be important to feature this book because as an educator, you may have an autistic child in your class or you may just have them around your school. It's just very important to be aware of autism because these students do make up a part of our school, so it's important to know. This story provides an insight into the world of autism and how family members who are healthy are affected by this disability. Some of the awards associated with this book are the Dolly Gray Children's Literature Award, the 2002 Children's Crown Gallery Award, Master's List, the Pick of the List American Bestseller, and the Outstanding Book for Young People with Disabilities from 1999. The character in this book is Ian, as we know. It starts off with his siblings, Julie and Tara. Julie wants to go to the park with her older sister, Tara, but Ian wants to tag along. They decide to let him tag along, but Julie is kind of what you call disappointed. She doesn't really want her brother to tag along at the beginning on the way to the park because he is stopping looking at ceiling fans, wanting to feed the ducks, taste pizza, smell the flowers, typical things that autistic kids do. But it's very silly to Julie, and she doesn't quite understand it. While at the park, they discover that Ian is actually missing. They panic, and at this moment is when Julie realizes that she has to stop and only think about Ian and where would he be? Think just like him, just almost transform into an autistic kid just for a minute, just so she can find her brother and make sure that he's safe. This story ends with her, of course, finding Ian. And on the way home from the park, I think what really did it was her finding him and him being lost. She then realizes that maybe it's not so silly. So on the way home, she decides to walk home like Ian. She decides to stop and smell the flowers like Ian. Does everything just like Ian. And at this moment, I think she really begins to appreciate her brother. And for that, I think the theme of this story is really what makes you different is what makes you special. And I think Julie learned a lesson that it's important to love her brother. Although he may be different and not exactly like her, it's important to love him for who he is. And I think that's a lesson that we all can appreciate. My favorite part of this book would definitely be page 19. This page, to me, was important because in this moment is when Julie realizes, look, my brother's missing. I have to think just like my brother. All the silly things that he does, I have to think just like him to figure out where he is. Okay? And it reads, Tara rushes off to look for Ian. I squeeze my eyes shut and try to think like Ian. Ian lights the balloon stand where the big machine hisses and scratches balloons into colorful bobbing shapes. He lights the water fountain where he can put his face up close and watch the stream of water gush past his eyes. Suddenly, the old bell in the center of the park begins to ring. Bong, bong, bong. And then I remember, Ian loves the bells best of all. So I like this page because once she thinks like Ian, she's able to find her brother. To me, at this moment, you can tell in her face the way she's looking. She's like really closing her eyes to think like Ian. The walk home, as I stated earlier, was very different. We could tell that in Julie's expressions that she was frustrated. She was not happy. But it's on the way home when you can visually see Julie smiling. She's happy she's found her brother, and she's happy the way the park trip actually turned out. And that's something about the illustrations that I really like. As you can see, the pictures are beautiful, beautiful watercolor. You can see Ian, And the way he's showing his emotions, all the watercolor pictures, is beautiful. What I really want to show you is some of her faces. You can tell she's not so happy in any of these, especially this one. Okay, but when I get to the very end, on their way home, after she's found her brother, you can see the smile on her face. She's hugging him. Okay, she's smiling. That's something about this book that I really like, how the illustrations really show Julie's expressions. So I think that Karen, the illustrator, did a great job of expressing that. This story is culturally relevant because it portrays a white family that's in a predominantly white community, and it also talks about the developmental disability of autism, as we know. Our main character, Ian, has autism, and we learn that from the very first page in the book. We see a picture of Ian using his senses. He's actually looking at the screen, and we found that out on the second page when we see the family in the kitchen and him looking out the door. It's the perfect day to go to the park and feed the ducks with my big sister Tara, except my brother wants to come along too. Oh, Ian, why don't you stay here? I say. Ian doesn't answer me though, because he has autism. But he wraps his fingers hard against the screen and begins to whine. So we can tell that Ian is using his senses to express his emotions because he's autistic. On the second page, we see Ian here looking through the door, looking out, ready to go with his sisters. And we can see the family right here having a conversation about them going to the park. The grade I chose to focus my project on is grade 4 because that is the grade I teach. I think this book is very appropriate because at that age, they're more mature and more curious about things and why they are. So it'll be a good book to start making them aware of autism. I will use this book in my classroom to talk about how people are different, and although they're different, that's what makes them special. Being different is what makes us all unique, and I think I would express that throughout this book. While reading the book, I would definitely incorporate higher thinking questions because I'm all about questioning and thinking. So I would incorporate that. Also vocabulary because that's huge for the students to know what these words mean. So we can go more in depth in the book. Having the opportunity to ask questions about disability, it enhances their attitude and change about something they didn't know. So that will help as well. It's also proven to be more effective because it increases their knowledge about something they did not really know about. Others may want to use this book to do more of a hands-on project. I think it's a good idea. In the month of April, since it is Autism Awareness Month, the teacher would create a puzzle template because that is a symbol for autism. Teacher would give each child a piece of the puzzle. On that piece, the student would draw things that represent their qualities about themselves that make them unique. After this project is complete, I think it's a good idea for the teacher to explain how each piece is different, but they all come together and make something that's so beautiful. Just like each student is unique, but together they make a whole class and fantastic school. Every puzzle piece and student, however you want to look at it, has something special to add, like no other puzzle piece. So each one is very different. I think this can be a great big mural that's displayed in the hallway or bulletin board during April, since it is Autism Awareness Month. And I think the students will really enjoy this project. In my opinion, Ian's Walk is a very good book for all teachers to have in their classroom. It's age appropriate for elementary students, and it's so many awesome activities you can do with it. So much learning can be come from this small book, and I love it. I hope you've enjoyed my book talk. I've enjoyed doing it, and I hope you will be convinced to go out and get a copy of this book so students can become more aware of autism.